Welcome to another episode of Touring the AFC South. I am your host, Mike Patton. And on this episode, we will be talking, if I can actually talk today, we will be talking about the New Orleans Saints as they get ready to take on the Houston Texans and CJ Stroud. And I brought on someone that, the last time we talked a little bit about all the AFC South teams. But this time, we're going to talk about New Orleans Saints, and we're going to talk about specifically the Houston Texans. Mr. Greg Lee, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, brother? It's all good here. All good in New Orleans. People are putting on their heat right now because it's getting a little chilly down here now. But it's all good. Fall is here.
Got you. And before we get started, I want to thank one of my sponsors, of course, for the show. That would be Manscaped. Manscaped is one of my sponsors. Yes, you can go get you whatever you need, whether it be some clippers or razors, whatever. You got your deodorants, all those different things. Go to manscaped.com, and you can use the special code AFC South for 20% off with free shipping with that promo code. That promo code again is AFC South, manscaped.com, 20% off and free shipping. Go get you something. Check it out. You might find something you like either for you or someone else. Who knows? But getting back to the show, of course, we start off every episode with the Get It Off Your Chest segment. Now, it could be about anything from sports to life or anything like that, but it's about Mr. Bill Belichick this time. Now, Bill Belichick has been a great coach over the time he has been in the NFL. Of course, we're not going to count the Browns time because nobody really remembers that, but we're all going to talk about the time he's with the Patriots. Now, with the Patriots, he has dominated. Of course, all of that has been with Tom Brady, but now he doesn't have Tom Brady, and now he currently does not look the same in terms of a coach. Now, that's not to say he was never a great coach. It just says your time may have passed. The time may be coming to an end for Bill Belichick. And another point I want to make in terms of Bill Belichick, you have to know when it's time to call it and call it a career. It's never going to be the time you want it to be. Everyone tries to control that narrative, but ultimately you cannot control that. You can only control your effort and how you show up. But other than that, you cannot control when it's the end. Life will tell you when it is the end. And right now, life is telling Bill Belichick, it is the end. Please cue the new edition. Is it the end? Is this the end? Yes, it is the end. It's over. It's done. Bill Belichick, you've been a great coach, but it's over. You got anything you want to add, Greg?
Bill Belichick, the GM, is killing Bill Belichick, the head coach. You got to remember all the Super Bowls, all the teams, great teams he had. He had a lot of great personnel, people around him. Just like any other walk of life. You have a brain drain like that, losing all that talent. Who help you evaluate talent. He drafted 2 kickers this year, and he picked a kicker and a punter in the draft this year. The last few years, he's picked weird people in the draft in the first round. He's missed. He's killing Bill Belichick, the head coach. Bill Belichick is a special teams person. He pays attention to all the details. He knows all the nuances of the game. When he has the right chess pieces, he doesn't have the right chess pieces. He has Tom Brady left, but there's a lot of other positions on the field that are deficient. They can't find a receiver to save their life. They look like they found a good cornerback, but he got hurt. Christian Gonzalez. The offensive line is not what it used to be. The defensive line is not what it used to be. But I think the biggest takeaway is that it's just a big brain drain when you lose the Scott Pioli's, the Thomas Dimitrios, and the executives like that. You lose your right-hand man, the offensive coordinator, and McDaniel again, and all the coaches who've left him. And now he's hiring your son who's on the defense, calling defensive plays. Looks like there's a successor in place, maybe Gerard Mayo. He got signed to a longer-term deal to stay with them. Could be Mike Vrabel. From your cut because he came from there. I know one of my coworkers who's from Boston wants Mike Vrabel to come back home. But has the game passed him? I think it probably passed him in terms of the type of players who are in. They're different than when he came in as a coach in terms of how can you send a message to the players. He had Tom Brady for 20 years to to be that servant leader who carried the message of Belichick and took the coaching from Bill Belichick. But who was in that locker room doing that to carry the message to the players in the locker room? There's no one to do that, to carry Bill Belichick's message that could be effective. You had to be an effective, he has Matthew Slater, but he's on special teams. It's like you need someone who's in the foxhole like Tom Brady, who walk the walk, and people say, okay, Brady follows Belichick. I guess we got to follow Belichick at this point. Tom is putting it on the field, so I guess we need to do what Tom says, what Bill says. And that's where it comes down to.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of, weird picks, he did pick Cole Strange in the first round a few years ago.
Which is weird. The first, who was Cole Strange? Like, everyone's like, he's probably a third-round pick. He picks him in the first round. So there's an example of that. So he's just missing people around him who could actually guide him. And I think that's the biggest thing. It'd be interesting to see what, Bill, Bob Kraft will do with that. Because right now Bill Belichick is trying to chase after Don Shula's coaching wins record at 347. He needs to get a few more victories to do that. So if Bill Belichick wants to stay there, he needs to give up the GM duties. But will Bob Kraft want him to get rid of him entirely? Who knows? But at the very least, you got to give up the general manager duties and give it to someone that have the power and authority who has the power to give the personnel, select the personnel. May work with Bill, but ultimately the GM has a final decision, not Bill Belichick.
That is correct. Because, you said it perfectly at the beginning. Bill Belichick, the GM, is killing Bill Belichick, the coach. And he's basically thinking that he is, what is his name? Bill Parcells. But, Bill Parcells was a special breed of coach and GM. He's not it at this point.
No.
Okay. But speaking of the Patriots, of course, they took a whopping loss pretty recently to your New Orleans Saints, 34-0. I mean, that was probably the most dominant victory I've seen from the Saints in a while. I mean, they scored every which way you could think of in terms of, offense and defense scoring, rushing, throwing the football. But, what did you see from that team in that game that kind of gave you glimpses of, maybe them kind of getting on a roll and being as good as some people think they can be?
I mean, look, the last two games they struggled. I mean, they blew a 17-0 lead in Green Bay after Carr went down with an injury to the shoulder, and then they put a stinker against Tampa Bay at home, not scoring any points. The defense doing its job as much as they could. Letting Baker, the defense messed up a couple of times, I think, with letting Baker Mayfield win with his legs. And that was disheartening. But as mostly the focus has been the frustration of the Saints team on offense, hadn't scored 21 points in over 20 games. And when you have a defense like that, you need to take advantage of it. You got to score. And that's why they signed Derek Carr. And I say this all the time. The first 3 or 4 weeks of the season is really preseason. The offensive line hasn't really gelled because they didn't really play much in the preseason. Offense hasn't really gelled and gotten to sync. I think what we saw on Sunday was some glimpses of a synchronized offense. But, look, I really think the offense really focused afterward. Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara spoke up after they lost to the Buccaneers. Michael Thomas is not known to be a vocal leader. He spoke up, and that resonated with the team. He made some good catches in the game. He responded. When you talk the talk, you walk the walk on the field. Michael Thomas had a good game. Alvin Kamara was working hard, running hard, got a touchdown. But the key thing is the offense and the offensive line had to come together. That's been a problem this year. Trevor Penning, the Saints' first-round pick last year, was hurt most of the last year with a bad foot, has struggled, really struggled. Is compromised the run game on the left side of the offensive line because the Saints want to establish a running game. You can't run effectively if you're predictable. You got to be able to run both sides of the offensive line, and most of the time they're running right behind Ryan Ramczyk. You got to be able to run behind the left side on Trevor Penning. He's been very inconsistent at best, poor at worst, and the Saints maybe the Saints want to give the kid a chance because he was their first round pick last year. And he didn't play in his rookie year mostly. So they're trying to figure it out, but they can't. On this timeline where the Saints defense is getting older, but still very effective. You want to take advantage of that, and your offense has to score, and you got to have maximum efficiency at all positions to be at one. And look, Derek Carr, the they signed him. They got him in. I think he is a good quarterback, but there could be moments where he could have these Raiders lapses where he could cost the team. And he should be – Derek Carr should not be put in the – he shouldn't have to be put in a position a lot of times to win the game when you got a defense like that. But he's got to get more – look, he's definitely got chemistry right. Rashid Shaheed. You saw that against the Titans, that last the play to seal the game with the long pass on third down to seal the game against the Titans. He has definite chemistry with Shaheed on the deep ball. Olave is a monster. But I still think there's still more. I think they need to work on the chemistry still a little bit more. I think him and Micah Thomas was there. The tight end position has been spotty because the starter, Juwan Johnson's been out the last 2 games, so you can't get really good consistency there. And then the running back position has been in and out because Kamara was out for the first 3 games. You had Jamal Williams, who signed from Detroit. He didn't carry the ball a lot because Kendrick Miller, the rookie they drafted, was hurt. So you really were playing with Tony Jones, who now got released and got picked up by someone I just saw recently. But they haven't been consistent in the backfield either. And now Kamara's back. Kendrick Miller showed sparks last week and what he can do as a rookie. And then Williams should be back in a couple of weeks from his hamstring injury. So there's no chemistry back in the backfield. So all that said, the Saints are 3-2. They got the Texans coming in and at home against a good rookie quarterback. And he's really doing well. C.J. Stroud is really showing why he's the number 2 pick. And probably if you heard the Panthers head coach, I think it seemed like he threw the ownership under the bus because he wanted C.J. Stroud, not Bryce Young. And you see why. But, C.J. Stroud is an excellent rookie. But the one thing I've noticed with him is that they have no running game. And the Saints will stop the run. And we'll see what C.J. will do against the Saints, defense in terms of handling the pressure and handling he's been throwing the ball 50 times a game. And we'll see what the Saints defense can bring. They're getting back. They're starting safety Marcus May, who's been suspended for a couple of games for a DUI. So he's been back this week. So the Saints defense is almost at full strength. Peyton Turner's been out for a while, but he'll be back later in the season. But Curtis Granderson, Curtis got the baseball player. Granderson, I'm thinking, yeah. I mean, he is, but Granderson, he's kind of new deal. He rewarded with a new contract, and he's earning his money. Just getting to the quarterback, stopping the run. Cam Jordan's going to do his thing, but Granderson has been doing yeoman's work on the defensive line for the Saints. And the new defensive linemen they got from Kansas City, the 2 new and Brees, the rookie from Clemson, has been wreaking havoc in the middle. So it'll be interesting to see what C.J. Stroud does this week with a very tough Saints defense.
Definitely is going to be interesting. We're going to get a little bit more into that. But first, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Touring the AFC South with your host, Mike Patton.
A shift. A shift is something that happens and changes the dynamics. And that's what happened when Garrett Logistics was born. After 10 years as a sales pro in the logistics world of sporting goods, John Garrett decided to pivot to the world of freight and start a brokerage. So you're saying to yourself, why trust Garrett Logistics? Well, Garrett Logistics helps shippers improve overall workflow, along with increased on-time pickup and delivery percentages. Last-minute loads, multi-drop pickups, and more are part of the services with Garrett Logistics. They're available Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., all times Central Standard Time. So give them a ring at 615-400-8484. That's 615-400-8484, or you can email them at john@garrettlogistics.co or visit their website at garrettlogistics.co. Garrett Logistics, where the motto is, it's not just freight to us, it's your business.
All right, and we are back from commercial break. And, we talked a little, you talked a little bit about the game between the Texans and the New Orleans Saints. And it's going to be interesting just because the defense for the Saints, like you mentioned, veteran defense. They do have Lattimore out there on at one corner, who is one of the best corners in the NFL. And you have Stroud, and you have young wide receivers who have been making plays, guys like Tank Dell and Nico Collins. So, it's going to be interesting to watch that. But, like you mentioned, C.J. Stroud has had a good start, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions to start. Now, I will say, last week, Jesse Bates almost got him. He just dropped it. So
dropped it.
So it isn't. So it isn't.
The Falcons
like
have a good defense too. They did a good job in offseason.
Right. They did, and it isn't like he hasn't had some potential picks. He just doesn't have 0 picks. That's what you can read into it. But did you see him having this type of performance in terms of how he started out this season with the immense talent that he brought to the NFL and to the Texans?
Well, look, I think that CJ learned a lot in Ohio State, and look, people don't think much of Ohio State quarterbacks, and the record shows it. But I think CJ Stroud is a different cat, very smart, moves the pocket. He runs when he wants to, but he wants to stay in the pocket, and look, he reads defenses as well. Got a strong arm, very accurate with the ball. And he knows what he's doing in the quarterback position. So I think also you got to remember too, he's playing for a defensive coach, and he's going to have a good defense, and he has a good defense. So he doesn't have to feel like he has to win the game. He did last week. He should have won the game last week. He took his team down this field when he needed a touchdown and got it. But he's always going to be in games if you're going to have a good defense, and the coaches are not going to put him in harm's way. But they do. One thing I'm impressed by is that since they have no running game, they're not running scared from putting a lot on his plate, and he's taken it and he's accepted that challenge. And you can see with 7 touchdowns and no picks, he probably had a couple that was dropped, like you said. But at the end of the day, they're trusting him to throw 50 times if they have to.
Oh,
You're not trying to force free something that's not there. So, but I don't know against the Saints defense you can be able to throw 50 times either, because you got Honey Badger back there playing tricks on you back there, and you got Marcus Lattimore, and you got Paulson Adebo, who's a good corner. He's good. You got Lante Taylor. You got 3 legitimate corners, and then the rookie Yeardman. He's like in the top of the PF rank ratings as a cornerback. So you got 4 decent cornerbacks who. Yeardman had an interception last week, and that afforded him to let go another starting cornerback, and free agents just let him go, cut him, because the rookie came up and did well. So, but Alante Taylor and definitely Paulson Adebo and Matt Marshall and Lattimore, they're a tough task for a person like CJ Stroud. And then when you try to manipulate safeties, you got to deal with the master and Honey Badger, who's a master playmaker. And then the master of the defense is Demario Davis, who's going to really play games with CJ Stroud at middle linebacker.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting just to see what they do. But, not only do they have CJ Stroud and a young quarterback quarterback that's actually doing some things, not only in the AFC South, but in the NFL across the board. And a lot of people are talking about him. But they do have a young wide receiver, Nico Collins. Now, I will say this. Nico Collins, I was kind of nervous. I thought he would do – last year would be the year he would kind of take another step up, but it's kind of like he disappeared. But with the new quarterback, and I would say a better quarterback –
better quarterback
last year.
He didn't have – Davis Mills was not good. He was terrible.
No.
So how can you – wide receiver is a dependent position. You depend on your quarterback to get you the ball. You're not going to – your stats won't be as good if your quarterback is not good. So –
yeah. That's true, but one thing I would say about Nico Collins last year, it just seemed like he just didn't know how to get open as well at some points. But this year, it seems like not only is the offense fitting him more with the new offense, but he has a better quarterback throwing the football, and he's flourishing. He has more yards this year, or he's closing in. I'm sorry, he's closing in on a career high in yards, and it's only through 5 games. He's at 60 some odd yards or something.
Yep.
Yeah, and
I think it's gonna be the best setup, but it's gonna be a best. That's probably the best secondary he's gonna face. This year. So it's gonna be a test for them. But like I said, they're at home, and it's going. The Saints got a good big victory, but I think the Texans' offense can provide some challenges. One weakness is like when the Saints play zone, there'll be opportunities if they get back turn, and I'm sure CJ saw Baker Mayfield what he did. He could do this. Get better legs and make the Mayfield. So, and CJ doesn't want to run, but he's capable of running. And I think the Saints defense can be careful of that because, look, it took some time. Baker is a veteran quarterback, so he knows how to, in certain situations in football, if he needs to go get it first down, he needs to go get it. I'm sure CJ can do that, even though he's only a rookie. I'm sure he looked at that tape and like, okay, it's 3rd and 6, and I don't see it there. I'm going to tuck it down and get the first down and keep the planes moving, keep the Saints and keep the Saints offense off the field. And that's the thing that I think the Saints will have to do. They have to make sure that they keep him in the pocket, put pressure on him, give him different looks that he hasn't seen before. But one thing I do caution the Saints is TJ will run. I mean, remember when he was in we watched him at Ohio State in the CFP last year.
They played against Georgia, yeah.
Against Georgia, he damn near ran everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't seen him run like that during the season. He ran with conviction. He had Georgia's defense in knots, and Georgia had a great defense, and he had them on the strength. If his receivers didn't get hurt, I'm sure Ohio State probably would have won. But
don't say it too loud in Georgia, man.
No, hey, I'm not an Ohio State fan, but I call it like I said. CJ had that defense on its heels the entire game.
Mm-hmm. He did. Hey, I'm just being silly. But anyway, Lattimore versus Collins. I'm looking forward to seeing that matchup. But the one thing that Collins has over Lattimore, of course, obviously, is height because he's 6'4". So that's going to be interesting to see how Lattimore kind of deals with the height.
Well, he deals with every year. He deals with twice a year. His name is Mike Evans.
So. Right. That's true. Man, can we just put them in a boxing match eventually?
Oh, this should be an MMA fight. I mean, it should be an MMA fight. That'd be a great fight to see too. They hate each other.
They're worse than the Hatfield and McCoys. But switching over to the offense, of course, they're going to have to be looking at Will Anderson. Will Anderson is the other top pick for the Houston Texans, but he isn't actually the guy that leads them in sacks. The guy that leads them in sacks is actually Jonathan Grenard. I'm sorry. He actually leads them in sacks with 3. They don't have a lot of sacks, but that combo of guys on the outside to rush the passer, along with the guys like you mentioned, Ryan Ramczyk and Trevor Penny that have had issues in the blocking in the passing game. Does that kind of concern you going into this game?
Oh, it concerns me a lot because I think the combination of things too. I think the tackle play more so on the pinning side. Ramczyk is solid, is all pro. But also a combination is that not only just that, but also Carr holds the ball a little bit too long. He's indecisive. So he's going to get rid of the ball quick because Will Anderson is quick. He's got to step up the pocket, manipulate the pocket a little bit. But I'm always going to be concerned because the offensive line has been banged up, especially in the interior part. The Saints have been shuffling the left guard between Hurst and Pete. Pete's been nicked up all year. Ruiz was out with a concussion. So there's been the offensive line's been nicked up, and so they haven't been able to be a cohesive unit. So I'm always gonna have concerns there, but I think there's some opportunities for Texans to rush Derek Carr because he does have a tendency to hold the ball too long, or a tick too long, and instead of just dumping it off. I think the big problem too with Carr was he came back from after his injury. We thought he'd be out longer from that shoulder injury, and he makes bad decisions in situational football. I go back to the Tampa game. It's 3rd and 6. Instead of trying to get the first down, he's trying to go for a deep ball. I mean, there were some of the things I concerned with, like going against the Texans defense and going against an aggressive defensive coordinator, DeMeco Ryans, and how he runs his scheme. You got to take what the defense give you, and he's got to know how to dump it off. So Derek Carr gets himself in trouble too by holding the ball, and like I said, the Texans will have the players to get to the quarterback if he does that.
Right. And one guy that I would say that in terms of you mentioned the passing game. And it's Houston Texans kind of middle of the road when it comes to pass coverage. They do have a former Jacksonville Jaguar and Shaquille Griffin. Of course, that was a short-lived era in Jacksonville. But,
yes.
As far as they do have him, and they do have Steven Nelson, who was a former Pittsburgh Steeler. So they have some veteran corners out there. However, Griffin can be picked on. So do you kind of expect the Saints to take, maybe Olave to get a few matchups with Griffin and maybe Michael Thomas as well?
I think Olave. I think Shaheed with speed guys. I mean, Shaheed definitely has a lot of chemistry with Carr, and they've been dialing up a lot of deep shots with him. So I think you should definitely watch out for him. But if Michael Thomas across the middle, they're getting chemistry. But Olave is the guy. I mean, Olave runs the route tree, has great body control. The sideline, he's made a lot of great one-handed catches down on long passes, keeping his balance in his feet in the field of play. So Olave is the man. Olave, you can move him around, slot, outside receiver. and he's just a matchup problem. So yes, I think they'll pick on Griffin, but you can pick on Griffin with a couple of with Rashid, Shaheed, and Olave. So I can see that happening with the Saints offense. And hopefully the Saints offense get the tight end back, and Juwan Johnson, I think, trending that way. So to pick on the middle of the defense, and also if you establish Johnson in the middle of the field, that also opens up Olave and Sheed even more on the outside and expose Griffin and Nelson to even greater danger.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Well, we've reached the point of the show where we're going to get a pick, and I'm going to bring in a special picker for this episode. This guy's been seen across the internet, and if you haven't seen this guy, the energy is infectious, and just wait till you see. Just wait till you see. I'm going to bring in my guest picker, and guest picker, if you would introduce yourself.
It's Saint Who Dat. What's up?
Yes, sir. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Looking for another victory for the Saints. Looking to go 4-2. We want to get an AFC South sweep because we got a short week. We get the Jaguars next Thursday night. So, but first, got to take care of the Texans to get another winning streak going on. And look, we're pointing to that, the Saints, tradition. And we're going to take down the Texans. I think, look, C.J. Young is a good quarterback. C.J. Stroud, Young, with Bryce Young. See, because we beat Bryce Young early in the year. Now we're going to take on C.J. Stroud, the top two picks. And look, C.J. Stroud is an excellent quarterback. But I just think that the Saints defense with its veterans, I think they're going to have a couple of tricks up their sleeve to bait CJ into some bad throws and give the Saints offense some short fields, or maybe get a pick six. But it's a build, like I said, the Texans are a building program. They've gotten some good pieces there. But I think the Saints they found something in New England. They got their confidence back up. I think the Saints will put some points up on the board. And I know the Saints defense, they'll give up 3 points. I mean, look, the Atlanta Falcons defense is a good defense. And Stroud only could get field goals against him until that last drive. He had 4 field goals and a touchdown, 19 points. 19 points won't beat the Saints offense if the Saints offense is on point. And the Saints defense against a rookie quarterback, they will feast. And they can't – the Saints will give up field goals, but you can't win with field goals against the Saints. And C.J. Stroud's got to go get to the end zone and get to Nico Collins. But he's going to go against a pretty tough secondary with Marshawn Lattimore leading the way and Paulson Adebo. And Alontae Taylor, who's really, second-year player from Wisconsin, has really stepped up. And he's a very lean, athletic cornerback, and he goes out and tackles. A very physical cornerback along with Marshawn Lattimore. So it's going to be a tough road and studying, but Saint Who Dat predicts the Saints is going to take down another AFC South team, took down the Titans the first game of the season, get to, make it 2-0 against the Texans.
All right. Saint Who Dat has spoken. And what we're going to go into next is the part of the show where we have a game. 5 questions, 2 answers, and 1 choice. Mr. Greg Lee, I've got 5 questions for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. First one, beignets or po' boys? Which one you going to first?
Po' boy.
All right. Cool. Okay. We're going to go a little No Limit real quick. We got Break 'Em Off by Master P. Break 'Em Off song by Master P, or I Always Feel Like by True. Which song are you going to first?
Break It Off. I'm going to Master.
All right, cool. We got Heath Schuler or Danny Warfel. Which QB would you take first if you needed one quarterback?
Danny Warfel.
All right. Yeah, Heath Schuler was that was his second stop, I believe, because he played in
he
played in Washington and
he
then ended up there.
He couldn't even move.
Yeah, it's funny is he could move in college, but he just couldn't move in the pros.
No, his foot was messed up.
Right. Let's see. Falcons or Panthers? You got to cheer for one of these teams, one game. Which one are you choosing?
Panthers.
All right. And the last one I got for you. We're going a little juvenile. Let's see. We got High or we got Back That Ass Up. Which juvenile song you taking off of 400 Degrees?
High. I love High. Love High. Yes, I mean, Back That Ass Up is a cultural run. So, but see, everyone knows about it. But High is, I just love High. I love High.
I can't even be mad at that. I mean, that whole album is a classic, man.
It's a classic. Another anniversary this year, so he's celebrating that. So
Yeah,
There's a boy that said Juvenile's going to be in the Bay Area in a couple of weeks. I said, okay, he's going to go see. He's going to see Juvenile in the Bay Area. There you go. Maybe Too Short would join him.
Man, that show would be too hot for TV right there.
It would be.
All right, we have reached the end of the show. I want to thank you, Greg, for coming on. If you want to, tell everyone what you're working on and where they can find you on social media.
You can find me on NABJ Prez, NABJ, Prez, PREZ 2011. That's on social media, on Twitter. And what I'm working on, just working on a lot of stuff. I mean, the end of the week at Front Office Sports, covering the intersection between business and sports, a lot of transactions, a lot of things happening. You just saw Shaq was named president of Reebok, and the answer is his vice president. So that's cool. Big news now. Taylor Swift is another football game right now, so that gives higher ratings. And now, and Shannon Sharp is killing Skip Bayless in the ratings game. So, we do everything. We do anything. Sports media, sports business, and we always try to lead the conversation in that world. So, just find us at frontofficesports.com and read us and share our stories and reach out to us if you have any ideas for us.
Oh, I definitely got ideas for you. I'm gonna reach out to you. But anyway, thank you for coming on again. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Touring the AFC South. I'm your host, Mike Patton. You can find me on Twitter at MikePatton82. That's MikePatton82. And I said Twitter. I'm sorry, it's the artist formerly known as Twitter.
Oh yeah,
yes. Yeah, the only X I recognize is DMX, man.
DMX is the real X.
There you go. And as far as on Instagram and Threads, you can find me on there at that's THA, not THE, _general_NP, Touring the AFC South. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, anywhere you listen to your podcast. Thank you all again for tuning in, and we're out. Peace.